I'm going out, I gotta go. I'll bang a rang on the radio. So turn it up, I'm telling you. I think I'm ready for something new. Hey, hello, it's nice to meet ya. Hey, come in and have a slice of pizza. Hey, hello, it's nice to meet ya. Hey, come in and have a slice of pizza.
You're listening to Pop Punkin' Pizza with Jacques LaMore.
Hey, I'm so sorry it's been so long since we last hung out. I've been super busy with the other podcast I host and also the part-time job I have. I've picked up so many extra hours in the last month that I've really been working a full-time job. So you know how it goes. I've been trying to make ends meet. And I'm sure you're in the same boat too as I am, or maybe you're in a bigger boat and you can't relate to that whole thing. But regardless, welcome to Pop Punkin' Pizza. I'm Jacques LaMore, and I'm excited to welcome back Stubhy Pandav to the podcast. He's best known for Lucky Boys Confusion. This will be the third time he's been on the podcast. But we did, however, spend the majority of this episode talking about his new solo project called Mr. Miz and the Infusions. We recorded this episode on the very last day of June, so it's been a while, at a delicious pizza place called the Village Inn Pizzeria, located in beautiful downtown Skokie, Illinois. If you're ever in the area, I highly suggest going to Village Inn. Food and customer service was excellent, top-notch. So shout out to Desi and the entire staff of Village Inn for letting us record an episode there. I got a feeling we'll be going back there sometime. And Stubby and I start off by talking about a book he's currently writing.
Let me live in the dark. Ooh, and don't you turn the lights on. I know you think I'm a mark. Ooh, and don't you turn the lights on. Let me live in the dark. Ooh, and don't you turn the lights on. I'm not falling apart. Ooh, and don't you turn the lights on.
We are on location today, coming from the Village Inn Pizzeria. They were kind enough to let us have their back room, so that's where we're at. It's just this nice little back room tucked away. If you've ever been to the Village Inn, you might not even know that they actually have a back room. So
they do like private events back here and stuff like that. And I've been here a couple times. I moved to Skokie a couple years ago, and but it was during quarantine.
yes,
So
and that's the last time we talked, and
Yeah.
now we're talking in
Now
person.
in person.
I should mention and introduce our guest, Stubhy Pandav from Lucky Boys Confusion. What's up?
And I'm going to only correct you because
No,
it's okay. It's really easy to say. My last name is actually Pandav,
Pandav.
which is a
I'm
pond and a
sorry.
dove. It's okay.
I do that all the time.
No, listen. here's why. Because one thing I've learned, and as a as an author and what I consider a wordsmith, I love looking into this kind of stuff. When we are not even country, in this country's so big. When you read a word, you see PAN. Well, when you see PAN, you see
you think pan. Yeah, not pond.
Yeah. But it's but in
Where
India,
would
if
that be
somebody saw it, they would go pond. So if they saw can, only because they know to say it's can.
So is that? I don't know my English very
That's
well,
okay.
but is that considered? Would that be called a long A then? Pon? Is that?
Pond is long.
That would be a long
Yeah.
A, right?
Pan.
Yeah.
Wait.
I don't.
Pan.
We're getting technical, but it just made me wonder. I'm like, is that considered when they say
No,
a long
pan
A?
is a long A. Pan.
Pan is the long
Pon,
A.
the shorter.
Okay, so
Yeah.
pon is the short
You're
one.
taking me back to fucking third grade, man.
Well,
Well, not third grade. I don't know what it was. Well, yeah.
I have no idea
But
when
you're
that
taking me back to
grammar.
yeah.
I'm so bad at grammar.
Oh man, I'm. We can get into this in a second, but I'm writing
Yeah.
a book right now, in full on huge book.
And I think you've mentioned that the two times, this is your third time on Pop Punkin' Pizza. I know you've mentioned that a couple times too, because it's
I've been working at it for that long, yeah.
and it's a memoir, right? Or no, it's
no.
not even a memoir. Is it fiction?
It's fiction.
It is
Straight
fiction.
It's
For some
100%
reason, I
fiction.
thought it was-
nothing to do with me.
I thought
mean,
it
nothing
was.
to do with me except I'm writing it. But yeah, it's just fiction. It's a fiction fantasy book. I don't have an education. I barely graduated high school, so I know how to write just because it's something I'm naturally decent at, but it's like I hired an editor after I finished the book because it was so long, man. It's longer than The Hobbit.
So are you?
I'm serious. I'm not kidding. It's longer than The Hobbit.
So it's like
it would
12
be,
inches
it would be like
thick.
a Harry Potter.
A Harry Potter?
Like one of the later Harry Potter books.
I think, what is the longest Harry Potter book?
No, book 4. You can talk to me about. You know what?
Is it Goblet of Fire?
Goblet of Fire was. You know what? I think it is Goblet of Fire. I think maybe Deathly Hallows is longer. I don't think so though.
I don't think so either. I think
Goblet
of Fire is the longest one.
Yeah, and I'll look it up how many words that is, but mine's 20,000 words longer than The Hobbit. So it's a long book. So I hired an editor, and going back to the grammar thing is just like I'm learning like basically what people go to school for like years. I'm learning like in Flash, and like you said, the grammar, like long A, short A.
I am so terrible.
Exposition, in scene, all this stuff. I'm like, and I told my editor, I'm like, I have no idea what you're saying to me. You got to talk to me like I'm an idiot, because she really likes the book. But
and she would know her grammar because she's an editor.
She would know the grammar.
Yeah.
I'm like, you got to talk to me like you're talking to a sophomore in high school, because that's where my education ended. And she's like, oh, okay. I'm totally downplaying my book. The book's really good. I'm actually pretty good at writing. I'm not like that, but it's just
so is it?
I just don't know mine.
Are you still going through the process of editing it then?
I'm on the second edit.
Okay.
I'm on the second edit from her.
Okay.
So she sent it back once. I did it, the edit, and then since she sent the second one back, and the first one was more like fixing like more grammatical stuff like you were talking about, and then this is more like, is everything making sense? Are the characters making here, or should you have more dialogue here? You should be more in scene. So that's things like that. So
it's like, get into more of the. It's like, this storyline isn't very good.
Well,
you should extend this story a little bit more.
Here, let me segue back into music, and I'll say I just wrote her a minute ago, and right before you picked me up, and I said, there's something I say when a lot of bands will come to me and like help, be like, hey man, could you help us with some songs? And something I like to say to them, I'm like, what are you doing there? And they're like, I'll say, you're double parking. I go, both of those parts are good, but what's the point of that part? And like, it's a cool part. I'm like, that's fine. And if you want that part in there, that's fine. Do you think it could be a different song? Or do you think that you're distracting are you distracting the listener?
So when you say double park, it's more like you've got two amazing parts, but they're fighting each other,
and then they're not even clashing musically. Like they're not like dissonant, or they're not like there's not a clash, but it's just that it's distracting. It doesn't need to be there. It's taking away. Pick one or the other. So focus on one, and then
save the other one for a different song.
Save the other one for a different song, or make it. Or I'm not telling you to not have the part in the song, but don't layer them. Maybe there's ways of taking that. Make it a 8-bar bridge instead of a 4-bar bridge, and have the first part go 4 bars and the second part go 4 bars. And that's what I'm learning with my book too. Is like, okay, are you being self-indulgent here? Are you just writing this because you really love this character and you wanted to say this, or is it really adding value to the story? Are your parts adding value to the song, or are you just doing them because you just want to sing that line, or you want to sing this lyric because you want your ex-girlfriend to hear it? You know what I mean? Like, and that goes into pop punk.
Well, it really does. Yeah. And when it gets down to it, it really. I guess I never thought about it until now, but there's so much that's similar. Because I know sometimes when I'm reading a book and the author will just really start going into super detail about something, and he just keeps going and going, and I'm like, okay, like when is this part over yet, or and are we done talking about what his shoes look like? Yeah,
well, exactly. So that's a really great point, and it depends on what you're listening to.
First things first, Lucky Boys Confusion, 25 years as a band this year.
Yeah.
You had a celebration not too long ago at Bottom Lounge.
Yeah, May 27th, we play the Bottom Lounge, sold out, which I normally wouldn't be like, oh my God, we sold out Bottom Lounge, because, and I don't mean that like any disrespect, but like we usually sell at House of Blues.
Yes.
But after quarantine, we just kind of went like, maybe scale it back, see where we're at, and come back. And we sold out. So like we'll probably have to go back to like a Metro or House of Blues next. But it was great. It was sold out. It was fantastic.
Smart move on your behalf,
Sure.
on the band's behalf, because I feel like
Not everybody's ready to go out yet, man.
well, it's not just there's so many things that some people aren't ready to go out, and there's also just I feel an influx of live
Absolutely.
music just because of the last year or the last 2 years. Not only do you still have some of these 2020 tours
Yep.
taking place in 2022,
Yep.
you have all the new
Yep.
tours and shows on top of it.
And
So,
from a music insider, like from the inside of it, what's happening is people that, we got food coming.
we got the pizza. Here it
Ooh.
is. That looks delicious. Thank you so
Um,
much.
One quick request.
Oh, we need another.
I was
we
wondering
need
if I
another
could,
beer.
order a beer from Gabby. If you can set her back. Something different.
Where?
Just any IPA is fine with me. That's what I'm saying. I don't remember the name. Yeah, just any IPA is fine with me. Okay, awesome. Thank you.
I don't know. We didn't. That was the first time we met her. But
Yeah.
Gabby is our waitress.
Gabby's our waitress.
and
We'll see
she is very cool.
Yes,
she
she
was
is.
very nice too. But so we ordered a medium. So it's a 14-inch thin crust pizza here from Village Inn in Skokie. Stubby is, you'll be so surprised by this. He likes things spicy. I can't imagine where that comes from.
It's probably my Irish heritage.
Yeah, I was just thinking it's got to be from your Northern Ireland heritage. Absolutely. I mean, your hair is just so bright red,
Yeah.
you know? And I just got sausage, but
Which is-
Stubby got sausage and jalapeno.
Because I have to. Or I'd be emptying the crushed red pepper. So one way or another, I'm getting it. Back to LBC, the show was great. The reception was amazing. My brother, whose brother is in a band called Swizzle Tree, you guys should all check him out. But
He's in Swizzle Tree.
yep,
I forgot about that.
Yep.
Has he always been in Swizzle Tree?
yeah,
Really?
oh yeah. The Swizzle Tree was a band when LBC started.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I was in a
Probably
band before
been
that, but
Probably been around just as long or a little bit younger, maybe?
who
Swizzle.
than us?
Swizzle Tree.
Oh, Swizzle Tree's been around. Swizzle Tree started the same time that my old band Farm Boy started, so
Okay.
they've been around for like good 3 years longer than us.
Okay.
They're gonna
So
come up
almost
on
30.
30 years, but they don't really play much anymore.
Right.
But and my
Well, they do
brother-
play with you guys once in a while.
Yeah, and if they do, they do. My brother's got another project right now called Temple of Dome. He's doing a whole.
Should look at this pizza, by the way. There's I don't mean to interrupt you.
No.
I just wanted to, if you're watching the video version, we are showing off our pizza. This looks absolutely delicious. The sausage is a perfect size.
Mm-hmm.
Crust is like a nice, because when you order thin crust, you never know if you're going to get like a thin crust or it's a thicker
yeah. And
thin
this is right in the
crust,
middle.
if that makes sense. But yeah, this is right in the middle. So your brother's new project.
Yeah, it's called Temple of Dome, and he's doing like a new album. He's doing a whole album about weed. I swear to God, and it's a rock album.
It's so funny you say that. On my way here on 294, it was like 3 consecutive billboards
Yeah.
for a cannabis shop. The
Sure.
first one was just all black and it had single with a question mark.
Mm.
And then the next one was like, well, I forget the name of the dispensary,
Sure.
but it was like such and such a dispensary is ready to mingle with you or something. I thought it was funny. It was great.
Somebody sat around a boardroom and decided that those were going to be the advertisers. So those are going to be the billboards. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that's what I think about now. Like somebody sat around and decided this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But he was there, and the reason I brought him up is because he's not one to like throw around compliments. Really, I mean he is. He's very supportive, but he said, "I have not seen a crowd sing every word to every song since I was at the Weezer show," and I was like, I mean, I'm not the biggest Weezer fan, but I respect, like, and that's cool. And when I'm on stage, I only see like the first like 3 rows, like, I expect them all to be singing because if they're going to sit through that crowd and, like, then they probably know all the songs, right?
Yes.
But, yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah, it was nice. It was a really good time. 25 years is a big deal. And then we got to
coming
Riot.
out of the pandemic,
Yeah, coming out of the pandemic, and then we got to announce Riot Fest. So,
And is this your first time playing Riot Fest?
Yeah,
Which is so funny to say because
we've been. Riot Fest has been around a long time, and so have we. But the thing with Riot was, if we would have done Riot when we were a touring band, when Riot wasn't around,
right?
Yeah, it would have been fine. We'd have played Riot, and we'd have gone on tour. But as a non-touring band now, we do most of our shows in the Midwest. They have a huge radius clause. If you're playing Riot, you can't play the area for a long time. Well, a lot of our summer shows are festival shows in the city, in Indiana, Wisconsin, and all around Illinois, so.
You're not playing Summerfest this year, are you?
No, we can't.
And you can't, right,
Even if we played last year. We got to play with 311 last year. It was pretty cool.
Oh, that's right.
It wasn't like it would have been if it was 4 years ago. There's still, again, people were still, I was, I'm like, for those that people know, I'm sick. I can't take a chance of getting COVID. I'll get really, really sick. So, it was kind of like frightening. So we didn't get to do Riot because of that, because different members of the band have different things that they value. And a couple of the guys really love playing those festival shows, like those street festivals and stuff like that. They're cool.
Division. I know you guys have played, right? Division? Is that what it's called?
We've done them all.
Yeah.
I think we've done them all. At some point in time over the years, we've done them all. So it's like, for me, it's just like, well, I wanted to do Riot. Like I wanted to do something. We've done all the street festivals. Not that there's anything wrong with them. It's just, so this year, with it being 25 years, I just kind of was like, guys,
come on.
I want to do this. I'm like, let's
give it to me, please.
Yeah. It's 25 years. It's a bucket list thing.
Especially how big Riot Fest has become ever since it started. It's just grown into such a... I'll never forget when Riot Fest first started and I heard of it. It used to be hosted at 4 or 5 or however many different venues throughout. So you'd have to go to the different venues to see the bands. And then finally they're like, okay.
It was a cool idea.
It was. I thought it was great.
I love a lot of the guys that work at Riot. They're great guys. Dan Wade, I've been friends with him for I don't even know how many years. But it's just it's a good environment there. They're good people. I want to do the show. So, and it just made sense with 25 years. All right, 25 years, we're doing this big deal of a show. And then after Riot, we'll do some stuff, more stuff for the 25 years. I'm not really sure what yet, but we'll do some stuff. And cap off 25 years. And, if Joe was... The cool thing is 25 years with the same members. And we were just talking about Gabby.
There's Gabby.
And Gabby's bringing
our
me
wonderful
beer.
Waitress.
Yes.
Thank you so
Say
much.
hi, Gabby.
What did you bring, Stubhy?
Nice.
Mutant beer?
It's a Oscar Blues IPA, and Oscar Blues is a very cool company. I wrote them once about something that went wrong with I got a case that were all the cans, every one of the cans were exploding. They were just sitting in my fridge,
and all you did is you just
them up. And I wrote them. I'm like, hey, I'm not looking for anything. I just like your beer, and I want you to know that this is happening. And
you're wearing...
They sent me this. They sent me one for my baby. They sent me one for my wife.
Wow.
They sent me koozies. They were just real, and it was a handwritten note. I think it probably helped that I didn't go I want my money back.
Right, you were.
It's not their fault.
Right.
Something happened. It's probably because wherever I bought it from, stocked old. After a certain date, the beer is gonna fizz up, especially these IPAs and stuff. But yeah, a good story though. Good story of good customer service, and I support every time I see them on a menu.
You have to get them.
Yeah, I buy it because
That's awesome.
I'm gonna love it.
Perfect.
Cheers, everyone.
Get it? Yeah.
Thank
you,
you.
Gabby. The pizza is delicious, by the way. It's amazing.
I don't remember it being this good, but it's probably because I got it delivered.
Oh, you know, it always tastes better in the
Well,
restaurant.
did you get it right away?
You get it right away. It's coming right out of the oven. You just can't go wrong.
It's really good. Yeah, 25 years. I mean,
We're talking about Joe. I think.
yeah. I mean, like, if Joe is still alive, it would be 25 years with the same guys. And, you know, we got Sherman now, and Sherman's been in the band for now almost a decade. I think a decade. No, it is a decade because Joe died in 2022. I mean, sorry, Joe died in
2012, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's 2022, and Joe died in
So
2012.
yeah, it has been
Da-
about 10 years. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's the same guys. That's who LBC is. It's like we're that kind of unit of guys that somebody might see, say me or Adam or me or Ryan or Jason and Ryan out, and might be like, those guys don't really, or they might see, like they might think that we don't get along, or like we don't, but we do. I mean, we are just the greatest of friends.
And you don't run into too many bands that have the same lineup.
No.
For,
Maybe Bowling for Soup. That's about it.
I mean, I know the first one that always comes up is like ZZ Top. People always,
okay.
of course, their bassist.
I was thinking so pop punk.
I was thinking pop punk. I mean, yeah, Bowling for Soup.
I mean, even
you got
Green Day.
Green Day.
Yeah.
People will argue though their original drummer was not Trey Cool, but
on Slap Happy.
Yeah, the first record.
He was on Kerplunk.
He was on Kerplunk. That was his first record.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's the only.
So
one. I'm sorry. I don't care. I don't care. Smooth Dust Slap Happy Hours is a
Kerplunk is an amazing record.
Kerplunk is where they hit their stride.
Yeah.
Smooth Dust Slap Happy Hours was still like high schooly. You know what I mean? They were like, it's still like
very high school.
And not that it was bad, but
no, they found their sound.
Yeah.
In Kerplunk.
I mean, When I Come Around is on Kerplunk. I mean, it's like,
is it? Or Welcome to Paradise.
Sorry.
Yeah.
What?
Welcome. Yeah.
No.
Welcome to Paradise is on Kerplunk.
You're right.
Yeah.
So think about that. The huge song that was their biggest song off that record. It's hard to keep a band together these days. It's hard to keep personalities like the six of ours, sorry, including Sherman.
Talking personalities, who is who? Who has what personality? I mean, obviously start with yourself. But
I'm the guy that talks all the time. Like I'm the big talker. I'm the face of the band, you know.
Yeah.
And they call me, what do they call me? The ever optimist. When news comes through, I'm always like, cool, this is gonna be awesome. We're gonna be the biggest band in the world. And like, you know, like just always seeing the good. Adam is the
quiet one, right? No?
I mean,
is he not the quiet one? Is that someone else in the band?
Well,
or maybe that would have been Joe. I don't know.
I don't think there's a quiet one. Like,
no quiet one? Because
I mean,
don't know.
Maybe in public. I mean, but not with us. Like no. But Adam's the ever pessimist. We'll be having a meeting, and somebody will say something, and he'll say his piece, and I'll be like, I'll just drop my face because I'll be like, let me guess, Stevie, you think the exact opposite thing. And then and it is true every single time. Not every single time. Obviously, we wouldn't have the band that we have.
Yeah.
But I mean,
right.
We're very different. And he's always looking for something better.
Uh-huh.
And I'm just, and that, which is great. It's a great quality to have, you know? And I think my attitude is like, this is what we got. How good can we make this?
That must be how you balance each other.
We
out.
do. That's what they say. That's what the other guys in the band say. Is like most bands have one leader. We have two leaders. Jason is the all-American, hard work and get her done, level-headed, and I feel like Ryan kind of falls in that category too. Like both Jason and Ryan are just kind of like Ryan now, not Ryan touring, but like. You know, just family man, just kind of doing that kind of like down home, kind of good old boys kind of stuff. Like, and then Sherm's he's just a weirdo. He's just a fun guy. He's like still like the kid in the band, you know. He's like the young guy. Is he
the youngest one?
Oh yeah, by far. Yeah,
okay.
like and he's but even then we're also old. But I mean, like he's still like wet behind the ears, and it's a lot of fun because he didn't experience the glory days. So a lot of these experiences, like, dude, I played Lollapalooza. I played Warped Tour. I played in front of 18,000 people in Tampa.
And played over 200 shows in a year.
Oh, absolutely. I've done it all.
Yeah.
And so have Ryan, Jason, and Adam, but not Sherman. So all these experiences are fun for him. Like, they're like, he probably won't. He hasn't really said it to me, but he's got to be shitting his pants that he's playing Riot Fest. You know,
I would be.
Because
Well,
like,
even last summer with 311. I mean, that was had to have been a huge bucket list.
well, yeah. Oh, apps for him. It's his favorite band of all time. So
and play at one of the biggest festivals in the country.
Sure. The biggest. Well, the biggest because it's spread out over like 25,000 days. But like but still,
25,000 days.
It's such a long. I love Summerfest. Don't get me wrong. I wish I could go.
It does go on for 2 weekends, doesn't it?
It used to be 2 weeks. I thought
2 weeks straight.
Well,
I don't know. See, I've never
straight. I don't think they do like the Monday, Tuesday, but like too long. I think it's Thursday through Sunday though.
Okay.
I mean, so it's like that's more than that's the majority of the week,
right?
Like,
yeah.
But
well, it's just like what Lollapalooza sometime in the last 2 to 4 to 5 years added a day onto their festival.
But with Sherman, he got to come into an established product that already had a fan base built. He didn't have to do like the grind of like playing every night. But on that note, he was also in 2 of my other bands.
So obviously he had been playing in the scene.
So he did the grind there. Not the same way, but it was fun. So people ask me like, did you think you would get to 25 years with the same guys? And I'm like, well, yeah. If I didn't, I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have started it. Nobody thinks they're gonna break up.
No.
But did I logically? Yeah. Ryan and I have known each other since high school. Jason and I are extremely close. Adam's my baby's godfather. If other bands are listening, it takes a lot of hard work. It's the same amount of effort I have to put into my romantic relationship that I put into this band to make sure. Last year I started this thing, and the guys are going to keep carrying on, but I invited all the guys over to the bands and their wives and their children. And I said, we're doing this every year. One day we're not going to play music anymore. One day I'm going to be too sick to not play anymore, man. And like, it's going to happen. It's not around the corner, but it's going to happen.
Yeah. And for those that don't know, Stubby has MS.
Yeah.
Is diagnosed with MS almost 4. 20. It was 4 years.
I was diagnosed in 2018, but
you
I
announced
it in 2019.
You announced it a year later.
Yeah, I just wanted to live with it for a year before I.
Right.
I'm not famous or anything, but like in this, I do have a public life, like a public persona, and I just kind of want to live with it for a little bit. But going back to like the thing, and everybody came. It was such a great time, and and I kept saying over and over again. I go, it is up to us to stay friends. It is up to us to make sure that we shared the best moments of our lives together. It is so easy to just fade away, but put some effort into it. And then this year, Ryan's like, cool, my house this year. And I think we're going next month. So
nice.
Yeah. So every year, one year Jason will host, 1 year,
just take turns.
Yeah. Or I'll host every year. I don't care. And I want to. You're not just making music if you're just making music together, you're Rage Against the Machine. How well do you think those guys get along? And I get it. In some situations, it's just business. You're just. I don't hang out with everybody that I work with.
No,
a lot of them, but I don't hang out with everybody I work with.
Right.
I just because if you're looking at it like that, sure. But if you want something like we have, it takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of effort, and it takes a lot of love. And I don't mean to sound cheesy, but I love those guys, and I tell them on a regular basis, and I try to make sure that we stay as close as we can. So yeah, and then that's why you get to play Riot Fest 25 years later, because you still love each other, Yeah,
and the fact that you get to do it 25 years later, even after the fact that Lucky Boys hasn't been signed to a major label in years, hasn't
almost 20 years.
Yeah, hasn't done any extensive touring in several years as well. All those things, I think it's a true testament that you still get to play Riot Fest, even though
there are so many bands that were so much bigger than us outside of like Chicago, or even within Chicago at some point. And I mean, we could just name them off right now. And very few of them can still do what we do here. everybody from Plain White Tees to Mess to, and just name the bands and show off. All these bands that were Mess was on tour with Good Charlotte. I mean, they are big, and like, I'm friends with Tony, and like they still can do cool stuff all around the country, but there's something special about LBC in Chicago. And, I mean, of course, there's Fall Out Boy, but Fall Out Boy would do that anywhere. That they hit a level that's a different kind of
right.
Yeah, that's it. Doesn't they're not really even Chicago anymore. They're just too big to, like, Pumpkins too. Like, that's just,
they're still from Chicago, but they're on a global level at this point.
Like, that's a different kind of situation.
And do you think, and maybe that's just because when you decided, okay, we're not hitting the road anymore on a regular basis, we're just going to focus on our home.
Yeah.
And of course, and LBC, this is a big part of it too. And we've touched on it the couple times you've been on. LBC has always given back to the scene very well. And I think that plays a huge role in probably why LBC does so well whenever you play in Chicago or the region. It's just the fact that you've given back to the younger artists.
And a lot of that, I don't think the guys would disagree. A lot of that came from me. I had a very strong commitment to make sure that it was hard. It wasn't that hard, but I mean, it was difficult for us to get chance to play in Chicago. Nobody, like, just these kids from the suburbs playing this goofy music, like, we want to have triple fast action and smoking popes and like, it's like. And I don't blame them, because triple fast action and smoking popes could be defined. They were doing pop punk. Well, triple fast action was indie rock, and who else? Veruca Salt was doing alternative rock. It was definable. And here's these 5 kids from the suburbs with a brown singer. And, guys, like, I know it doesn't matter anymore, but we're talking about 1997. You guys won't believe how many labels told me that there's no way they'll sign an Indian lead singer. Because I can't, because I couldn't sell records. Who's going to relate to me? I'm serious. I'm not. That's not even a
but that
joke.
Doesn't, obviously, in the time period, things were a lot different.
They said only black or white. There's no need for, and even black, they were like, it has to be really, really good,
But it's so strange hearing that, because you never blasted your Indian culture in your songs. Like, you were never.
No. I mean, I sing a Indian style melody and one of the right, and then I did sing in Hindi at the end of Throwing the Game, and then
but I
it wasn't like well, that was the point. I'm the first Asian person to do Western music without an Indian twist or an Asian twist. I didn't want to be marketed. I didn't want to do that. I was just making music. I didn't want to do corner shop. I didn't want to be Apache Indian. I didn't want to be Asian rock. I wanted to do alternative music, American alternative music, just me singing. And, I didn't mind being mind the Indian thing being whatever, but, it was hard enough to like get a label to sign us, let alone push that angle. Ryan, our drummer, always was like, why didn't they ever push that angle? He's like, you're a first. And I'm like, and now I know. Now we got the Young the Giant. We had Young the Giant. We had Lola Ray. After me, there was a couple others. Young the Giant, Lola Ray.
I'm not sure who else, but just think about. Oh yeah, that's true. Think about it now, though.
Half and that and that kind of Asian and sorry if this sounds racist, because it's not. I just mean, like, there's two different kinds of Asians, but that kind of Asian, meaning Chinese, Korean, Japanese, has been in this country 100 years longer than than the Indian influx. Indian influx came after the Civil Rights Act was passed. So that it's a very different situation. Asian food, Chinese, let's just say Chinese, because everybody gets what I'm trying to say. Chinese food, culture, stuff has been in this country for a lot longer. So they're just like, who's going to buy something from this Indian kid,
Yeah.
So with that, I was just thankful. So I was like, all right, well, I'm going to give back to this community. So that's when we started the Songs from a Scene stuff. Started where it was every year we do 2 shows at the Metro or House of Blues. And I'd put on 3 new bands each night from the Chicago suburban scene. and try to give them an opportunity to play, a venue that I felt thankful to be able to play. And that's all it was.
And that comes from your dad too.
What's that?
Like I said, that kind of comes from your dad too, right? He kind of instilled that
Giving
in
back.
you, giving back to those
Absolutely. My father was born in India, and when people have no idea what poor is in this country, the poorest person in this country would have so much more than my dad did. My dad grew up in a house made out of dirt, and every day workers would come and take a combination of cow dung and hay that they'd mix into this mixture and coat the dirt walls so they'd stay up in case it rained.
Because otherwise it would collapse.
Because it's dirt.
Yeah.
But if there's cow dung and hay over it, unless there's a torrential downpour, which guess what? There's a monsoon in India. So like those walls would fall and the walls would have to be rebuilt. You went into the forest to take a shit. There wasn't running water in his hometown until the year before he died. All right. He put running water into the town. I don't want to cry right now.
No, it is.
Like I don't want to.
It's okay. I totally understand. We don't have to talk
let's
about
not
it.
talk about my dad.
Yeah. I guess we could first transition from hoodie life
Sure.
into
Well, Hoodie
Mr.
Life
and
was a
Miss-
tragedy because Hoodie Life, I played our record release show with Hoodie Life a week before or 2 weeks before we went into a full lockdown.
I remember that.
And then I moved. Then I started going into the moving process, right? Like my lease was up. I had to go, whatever. And that was when it was heavy lockdown. Like, like if there were shares, I would have bought shares in Zoom and House Party. And
So many people, I feel like, did buy shares in Zoom actually
Sure.
at that time.
Probably because it made sense. But
Yeah. Well, and you're a finance guy.
I am.
So.
I am a finance guy. But it was sad because I just kind of started listening to it again because it just hurt so bad to have it like basically shelved. Like it came out and it was done. It was, and we couldn't get together. We couldn't write. Jeremy and Brian, my drummer and bassist from Hoodie Life, just moved on to their project in Prize Fighter because they lived together so they could work together. Pat started doing like more instrumental stuff, and then he started getting into like he's a real estate agent now. Brad and I just Brad was going back into his stuff too, but like we just couldn't get together. That was it. We were done, and
So it is done, at least for now.
well, yeah. I mean, like unless we can figure out a way to like get back into a rehearsal situation, and man, and that kind of transitions into. I kind of got like, I was just like everybody else. I got a little depressed, and like when quarantine happened and stuff like that. But it was kind of good for my mental health because I was just kind of getting used to my disease, and being left alone was nice for a little bit, just to kind of like take it in because I had just done my MS Sucks show.
Yes.
And then we went into lockdown, and it just gave me a little. I had just announced that I was sick, so it was nice to do that.
It gave you a break away from because obviously when that was announced, everyone and their mom was
my phone
messaging you or texting you.
I've never had so many, and it was so wonderful. People are so kind. I haven't had that many messages in my since Joe or my dad died. Like it just was a really big deal. But
it's a lot of stimulation.
It is, and I just needed and I was buying a house. It just was a lot of stuff. I just had my baby. I just was a lot going on. But I'm a songwriter, and Jason, actually, this was Jason that Schultejan I was talking to him. He's like, yeah, man, just throwing shit around. He's just like, yeah, man, we should maybe do a reggae record. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Just stuck in my head. And I just was like, yeah, whatever. Nothing still, no creativity. And then all of a sudden, like the George Floyd stuff happened. Like it's just like stuff
Yeah.
And I've always been the type of writer that like since I'm not like a true musician, I mean, I can play, but like I'm not like a music guy.
I remember we talked about this last time. I remember you saying proactive, reactive. Is that what you're getting into?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of, when I get really stirred up by something, I have these reactive reactions. I have these, I'm reactive, and I usually don't know when it's happening, but 3 songs came out of me in like within the span of a day. Like, and like, I'm talking about like, sure, I like honed the lyrics out a little bit and stuff like that. And
as far as having the structure,
right.
And
yeah. And so how it went was I've always worked with Pat Gilroy or Adam Cryer or Brad, or I was always co-writing with people because, you know, I'm not a musician guy, but I was in lockdown. I didn't have anybody to write with. And I just realized, oh my God.
Did you not think about, we could do this over Zoom, or we could do this over?
Can't, because there's like a couple millisecond delay. So you can't play together.
Oh.
So you don't notice it when you're talking, but if you're trying to be in sync with music, you can't do it. And it's frustrating. But what I realized there was that I can write my own fucking songs. It's just easier to have somebody else do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I finished these tunes not because I was like, oh, I want to write these tunes by myself. You know, it wasn't like that. It
wasn't the opportunity presented itself.
And it was a necessity. What would happen is I just would think of another idea, think of another idea, think of another idea. And I had nothing else to do. I was in fucking quarantine. And so my showers were longer. That's where I write most of my lyrics. I mean, like, I just was like, because I had nothing to fucking do, man. So
now I have an image in my
sorry,
head.
But you know, yeah, I don't look quite the same as I used to. But you know, I just started writing, and I even presented the songs to LBC, but it didn't work because it wasn't a Stubby and Adam creation. It was mine, and it just didn't feel right. And I could tell the guys weren't digging it.
They weren't into it because it wasn't.
They loved the songs. They did. They were really into the songs, but they just was like, it just wasn't LBC. And I just like, okay, so I pulled the songs from the guys, and right around that time is when I'm like, I think I'm writing a solo record, and I didn't realize it. I just was like, oh, that's what you're doing. I just kind of go. Like my mom, my therapist, everybody just says you just kind of do stuff, and then you think about it later. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I do. So,
and that's good and bad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least hopefully, so far none of it's been destructive. But
yeah.
And you know, I'm pretty level-headed, and I'm sure I know a little bit that what's happening in my head. But like,
I do the same thing, man. I have the same problem, so I can relate. I do it, and then
it's just us creative types. Just kind of like, you know, I have theories on it, like how our minds work a little bit. We tap into a part of our brain that we don't really know how to use, but it still is part of us.
Yep.
So anyway, so I wrote these tunes. I started it, and then I was like, all right, crap. Well, I can do whatever the fuck I want. This is all mine now.
Yet again, a new...
absolutely new. And this is the newest out of everything, because the feelings that I feel about this project, both good and bad, are brand new sensations. So I go, okay, well, I'm going to do things differently. So I had these songs, right? And I had an idea. And especially with everything that was happening in the world, I was like, I have some ideas. But at that same time, I had been singing my baby to sleep, and I got bored of singing the same shit, and I just started writing a tune. One of my friends came over, actually my first visitor at quarantine. Like, you know, when we finally go quarantine for 2 weeks and you can come over, sleep over, spend a couple of days. That way we can hang out, and then we'll see you again after a couple of weeks of quarantine, whatever.
Right.
And he's like, what were you singing in there? And I'm like, just some stupid song I wrote for Leela. My daughter's name is Leela. And he's like, you have to record that. You have to at least record a version for her or yourself. I'm like, really? I mean, it's kind of cute. I mean, it's fun. And it's still some of my best lyrics. But I just didn't think about it that way. And recorded it, and just my own version of it. And that's when everything was like, I listened back, I'm like, this is good. This is good. You know, I'm like, okay, just singing it every night for her I didn't quite get, like, you know, I'm just singing it.
You needed that outside.
I needed to hear it.
You needed that outside
Yeah.
perspective, I feel like,
And
too.
I was like, oh, cool. So I had that song, I had My Dirty Fingernails, and I had it. And then I bought a ukulele, and I wrote It's Obvious.
What I'm wondering,
Yeah.
I know this is probably a question you get all the time, but
I just got to go back to that story. But yes, please ask.
Why not Stubhy
Hmm.
as your, you know, why not?
Because before Super Happy Fun Club started, a band that I was in for a while, and it was called Stubby and the Bad Habits. And I hated getting up on stage and saying that.
So you didn't want to get up on stage or even just talking about it online. You didn't want to say,
And honestly,
say your name.
I wanted it to be its own thing. I didn't want it to be a Lucky Boys thing. Stubby is Lucky Boys, you know?
That's
And
true. When
and
people hear your name, that's the first
Lucky
thing they
Boys.
think of. Yeah.
So actually, I was talking to my brother a little earlier. I haven't even posted from the LBC page about this. I posted it around Christmas time, the Hallelujah cover,
Yes.
but that's not
Not your original.
Yeah. I'm just like, hey,
yeah.
it's a cool video. Happy, you know,
Because that was the first song
was the
that
first
you
song, yeah.
released, was that cover.
And there's a reason for that. I'll explain that in a second. But like, I just didn't. I wanted to do this on my own. It was really important to me to do that. I don't know why. I'm still kind of going through the understanding of that, but because like my brother and like my Brad and a lot of my friends are like, why don't you promote this? I'm like, because I don't want nothing to. I don't want to ride their coattails. And my brother goes, "You are the coattails." And I'm like, I know, but
He's got a point. I'm
Yeah.
going to say, I'm
And
going to have to agree with
I
your
know.
brother on
I
that.
know, but I don't know. LBC guys sometimes keep our other projects separate. I don't know how much I care, but I mean,
So that
So-
was also an influence on.
yeah, a little bit
On why you
not that
chose-
much. It's not like they're like, oh, don't, you know, like not like that. It's just more like, you know,
Yeah.
let's keep AM Taxi there and LA. But AM Taxi is a very different situation. That's a big band. They got signed and they have
Right.
where I'm trying to start a brand new thing up. But here's the thing. I don't really care if it gets big. And the other thing is, I made myself a promise. I'm like, and which I thought was going to be impossible. I go, if you ever get, you know, I said, if you ever get more than 25,000 plays on a song, then you can post on LBC. So I recently just hit 30,000 on Mr. and Mrs. Mistakes of Our Father. And now I'm like, oh, okay. All right. So I'll probably, I don't know when the next song's going to come up, but I'll probably, you know, because I do think that fan base would really like what I'm doing here. But I just want pride, you know? I just wanted to do this on my own. And getting back to what I did. So I took these 4 songs, like Hallelujah, which it was just these 4 songs that kind of, I felt like nobody wanted me to put out. And Hallelujah, I remember, I'm not going to say his name, but thank you so much.
Thank you, Gabby. Was that a song you sang to your daughter by chance to put her to sleep? Was that one of the
There was
songs?
just one day. So my story with Hallelujah is I'm a huge Nirvana fan. And in Penny Royal Tea, he goes, give me a Leonard Cohen Afterworld. And I'm like, who the fuck's that? So back then, there wasn't, I mean, there was internet, but it wasn't, not really, not like,
Not convenience.
this,
Not
no.
yeah.
I mean, you had to like dial in. and-
Dial
I'm
up
so aging myself right now, but like dating myself right now. But so I
Well,
I went to a local music shop and I found a Leonard Cohen CD, and I found Hallelujah, and I was like, wow, this is cool. As a poet myself, in a like a lyrics matter, you know, I was like, this is cool, and I listened, just like you do with any song. You don't listen to it every day, you know. Just
Right.
you get over it. Maybe 10 years later, I was in LA recording Throwing the Game. And it was the first time that I heard Jeff Buckley's version of it. And then I heard Rufus Wainwright's version of it a couple years later. And before I heard their version, I was like, I think I can do this song in a different way, you know. And sure, their ideas, their versions, like gave me some ideas, but I sang it in the shower, and then I do these trills in it, and I didn't. Am I crazy or does that sound really good? I'm like, okay, so I didn't think about it much, and I brought it up to like again, I'm not going to throw anybody on the bus, but I'll tell you that it was nobody in LBC, but I brought it up to other bandmates, and they're like, "You don't cover Hallelujah. It's ridiculous." You know, like there's people have covered this song. What you think you're? You know, I'm like, you haven't even heard me. Like you haven't even heard me do it. Like sing it. Why? And so
They just thought it was cheesy.
Yeah, they just thought it was like lame. Yeah, like it's already been done. Nobody can do it better. And I'm like, who's saying that I want to do it better? I just want to do my own version of it. And I didn't even get to explain what it was. So I just buried it. And then one day after quarantine and this whole thing with these songs happened where I took them back and I was like, you know what? You're writing a solo record? Fuck everyone. At least go record it. So I recorded it and I recorded a bunch of these other tunes that were nobody that I played music with liked, and obviously Hallelujah did really well. I think I got like what is it, 16,000 plays on the video or whatever. And then people are like, "Oh man, why didn't you do that earlier?" I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me, you guys?" And
I will say, that was, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. This was the last thing I was expecting.
That's the other reason I did it.
You know, yeah. And I was like, wow. I was like, this is awesome. Although a person would think after all the different things Stubhy has done that you would expect that, because you're always doing something new and you're always doing something different.
Well, so. Hallelujah meant the song started meaning something very, very different to me after I got sick. And this goes into your question about why Mr. Miz. Mr. Miz is Mr. MS, you know, and the infusions are the infusions I get every 6 months. So I'm Mr. Miz, and the infusions are what keep me alive. So I'm Mr. Miz and the infusions. Are
you still doing infusions, or are those?
I'll do them for the rest of my life.
Okay.
Every 6 months.
I remember.
I thought they were going to be done, but then they're like, nope, can't.
The last time we talked about it
can't take a chance.
Was in 2019.
Yeah.
You know, so, and that was right when, and that's right when things were happening. So it's a lifelong, every 6 months you get these infusions. Mm-hmm. But I remember when we did talk about it that 3 years ago, mm-hmm. It was, they're incredibly helpful.
Yes.
Compared to the other medications that were available.
Yes.
And I remember you had to fight. You had to fight for that.
Yep. So, this became a project for about my struggle with MS and then a lot of what was happening in the world. Here's my opportunity to, not like the guys hindered me, but I just always felt responsible for the lyrics or what I was saying because I was representing other people, you know? And I was like, here's my chance. And I put out these 4 songs. So I did things very differently this time. I put out these 4 songs. These are just independent singles. Hallelujah. And I'm not an idiot. After I heard it back, I was like, yeah, okay, this is going to do all right. You know, like I was scared it wouldn't. I was scared. I was sincerely scared that people were going to berate me like my friend did. Like, who do you think you are is what I felt like people were going to say.
Well, a song like Hallelujah. Yeah. I mean, that is a
James
very...
Van Osdale said it to me because I sent it to him first. I'm like, James, should I even do this? Here's the song. It's done. And he goes, this is probably one of the hardest songs to ever cover, and you crushed it. So if James is going to tell me that, I'm okay. Let's roll. But
JVO, you can always trust his opinion.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I put that out, put those 3 songs out, and then those... If you remember, for people that are listening, I had those 3 songs that I wrote. And I go, wait, just put these out, see how it goes. People don't expect a lot from me. When they hear solo project, they probably thought it was all going to be like the first song I put, Hallelujah and Lila's Lullaby, that didn't even have drums on it, really. It just had, they're like, oh, he's going to put out a bunch of acoustic stuff, cool. And then I kept on putting out stuff. They're like, well, people are like, what is going on? And I go, it's working. And then I go, all right, save the album. So in April, I dropped Mistakes of Our Father, which is going to be the first song off my EP called Stick to Singing, and the songs will come as they come, and it'll probably be like 6 songs. I wanted to do a full length, maybe I will, I don't know, but I think it's going to be an EP, and it's all going to be songs like Mistakes of Our Father that have that
Is that your
political?
Is that your reaction to George Floyd? That song?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I do
Well, it's not just that.
There's obviously
learning from the mistakes of our fathers. It's about all that crap. What's cool about the whole situation, and I'm not saying that LBC or Hoodie Life or whatever band I was in at the time wouldn't have been cool with it, but
that's not really something LBC is.
I mean, but LBC has done some political stuff and like whatever, but like, and it's not even that political. It's just more socio-political that I'm talking about. Like, it's just more about social issues.
And I've always enjoyed your view on social issues. I always found it very insightful, whether it was something I agreed with or it just made me think a little differently about things.
I definitely lean left, but I would not consider myself a progressive. I disagree with a lot of those viewpoints. I definitely disagree with a lot of the alt-right viewpoints. I would definitely say like I'm more left, but people think I'm like this like neoliberal. I'm like, I'm not. Like I'm really not. I mean, most of my friends are, but I'm not. Whatever. I have my views. It doesn't need to be that. But when it comes to like racism, and there's certain topics that I'm very like as far left as you can go. Like
I would imagine, well, probably because of your culture experience here in America.
So I felt more comfortable doing this album with it only being on my shoulders. So people are like, oh, you wanted all the credit. No, like, yeah, you can, sure, I guess. But it's more like
being responsible.
I want to be responsible for it. And I'll use some of the stuff on the way back to drop me off. But like, and you guys will hear it soon. But you gotta, when you hear it, you'll understand. Like I mean, there's some stuff in there that I'm sure they all agree with. But anyway, so I put those 4 songs out and I put Mistakes out, knowing that it would confuse people. Be like, what? So I'm like, yeah, this is the first song off the album, Stick to Singing. And stick to singing if you get it.
Yes.
And if you don't get it, you should get it, because everybody fucking tells me to always stick to singing and shut my mouth and just keep singing. Stube.
Yes.
And,
Don't tell me your political views.
And it has a second meaning, because a lot of times people think I'm just a singer and that I can't write songs and stuff. So it's like
you can't write songs, or you can't express your political feelings or any type of feelings.
So it's just like, I was like, yeah.
It doesn't matter how big on the celebrity spectrum you are. You're a person, and you're allowed to voice your feelings and your thoughts and your views. It's
so annoying when people are like, oh, Matthew McConaughey, stick to acting. Shut up. Do you just fix engines all day? That's all you do all day. And when you get home, you just fix more engines. Like, come on, fuck off.
You do more things than that. You have thoughts and opinions on things.
I'm more than just music. Another thing that annoys me is whenever I tell somebody I'm writing a book, they immediately go, oh, is it a band? Is it a book about your band? Believe it or not, this brain can do other things. Like, I swear to God, it just, like you said, but not a lot of people do that kind of stuff.
And I don't think anyone necessarily, maybe some do, but I'm sure some people don't. That's just the first thing that comes to their mind, just because
I get it. I was more going for a laugh there. Anyway, but
I understand.
Yeah. Anyway, back to Mr. Miz. So I put those first 4 songs out, and it wasn't my best work. It just as a love song for my daughter, a love song for my wife, and a song that I had in the vault since 2005, and that doo-woppy kind of feel.
Okay, I had wondered about that, because
it wouldn't have fit anywhere else.
No, it was completely different from when I heard the doo-wop-esque thing. I'm like, oh, he's doing this, huh? I was like, okay. It's like I'm here for it. I wasn't. That was another thing I wasn't expecting. So.
And that's what I was hoping. And then, so my friend Brad asked me, he's like, are you just fucking with people? I go, yeah,
maybe
a little bit. He's like, what are you doing? Why aren't you starting with, let's be honest, Mistakes is, out of those 5 songs, is the best tune.
It's the best song.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I'm not stupid. I knew that, but it's the first song on my record. So I put out these 3 standalone singles because I knew that this was going to be the first song off the record, and I really wanted this record to be a certain way, and I knew that if I just could get people's feet wet a little bit and just get them to listen a little bit, then drop the big song, then it's boom. I hope it works, and it obviously did. But
So what are you saying? What are you trying to get across?
well,
What's the message?
each song has a little bit of a different message. So
Well, let's talk about mistakes.
mistakes is
Yeah.
straightforward, man. It's just like a friend of mine reached out to me, and you know, man, like this is gonna be the second time you're almost gonna make me cry on this podcast. Thanks. But like, so she,
I owe you another Jim Beam.
oh yeah, shit, right? Or maybe it's the booze. I don't know. But so she wrote me and she's like, with everything happening right now with my civil rights, with the, and I'm not trying to get into this, but with the whole new Supreme Court ruling, she's like, I have played your song on repeat for all day, or all night, or something, whatever she said. And I'm weird, and I don't know how to react to praise well. I it's one of my biggest flaws. I can't take a compliment, and I go, well, "Thanks for the spins." You know, like
Just like that's what you say.
But she knows me, so it didn't.
Yeah.
You know, she's like, "You're an idiot."
I
you
know what you're saying.
Yeah, like
I know what
she-
you're saying.
And she's like, it really helped me. She's like, I really needed that song right now, and
that does tie in well with
even though it's don't stand in our way. We are the chosen sons and the daughters. We don't stand in our way, learning from our mistakes of our fathers. I wrote it after more from a race point of view and like police brutality kind of point of view. But for all the songs except one, I kind of keep it open. So you can make it about how you feel about these abortion rights, or you want to talk about race rights or whatever it is. The point is that I'm not trying to conserve. I'm trying to move forward. So learning from the mistakes of our fathers just means I want to take all the good stuff from my dad, but I also, my dad was flawed. He had a lot of flaws, and I want to move forward from that. That doesn't mean I don't love him. I don't respect him. I mean, obviously I do. I mean, I just fucking almost cried over it. Like I miss the guy so much, but if I don't move forward, he wouldn't be happy. Now, the way I'm moving forward, maybe he wouldn't be so happy about because he was ultra conservative, but like you move forward.
Yes.
And-
I was just thinking about this today.
And
The same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was just thinking about how you can embrace and honor your past while moving forward and making change. You know, you can still embrace
And especially history. There's some bad stuff in history
There's
that
some bad stuff.
we should maybe not put statues up for. You know, like I'm just saying, like that's not a big argument up for mine. I don't.
No,
that's
that-
exactly what. But here's an example of how I'm not that. I don't care about the statue.
I don't
You're
either.
making more of a. But you know, and great points have been made. Like, what if that person to you represents enslaving your great grandmother? And I'm like,
Mhm.
I get it.
Mhm.
I'm not saying I don't. It's just that, again, I may agree with you. It's just that I only have so much energy, and I'm only so many fights. You know, like that's
in my opinion,
that's your fight, and
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say you're wrong. I'm just not gonna fight that fight for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So whereas many other things, I'm like, I'm there. You know, it comes down to like with this whole Mr. Miss stuff, and the stick to singing stuff is just like.
That's such a great title.
Yeah, thank you. But thank you. I appreciate it. Those 3 songs just came to me. And then the next ones were kind of cool because like people don't believe this a lot, but I haven't picked up my guitar in like 3 weeks. I just don't care. I pick up my guitar when I want to write a song.
Yeah, well, and when something strikes you, you're gonna pick
Like
up
you
your
said,
guitar.
I'm reactive.
Yeah.
So like there are times that we'll be out with friends and I'm just like, they're talking to me and I feel that thing. And I don't know if I knew what that thing was, guys, I'd be a gazillionaire. You know what I mean? Like I don't know what it is, but there's this like itch. There's this like this thing. And
It strikes like lightning
and I can't
sometimes.
focus on what you're doing. And all I want to do is want to go home. And the only thing I can do is just drink more to like kill it because I can't leave. Like I can't go and be alone and by myself and write a song in the middle of a birthday party. You know, it doesn't work like that.
Sometimes you wish though, and sometimes when it's bad enough,
Yeah.
it just makes you at least for me, it makes you super anxious, and
I
you're
will
just
pull away into like a corner and sing into my phone. Believe it or not, I'm older than 20, and my phone wasn't always there. What did I do then? I just freaked out. Like I just would like.
You have to remember it.
And the thing is,
hope you remember
I barely can remember stuff while I'm. Most of us creatives aren't linear. We don't have linear thought. I definitely don't. While I'm having this conversation with you, I've gone 7,000 different ways. That's just who I am.
Yep.
That's how I am with melodies too, though. If I think of the melody, I have to focus so hard to not get an Elvis song in my head or a Beatles song in my head, because it'll go away. That melody will go away. Back to the Mr. Miss stuff. I'm going to put it out as it comes. I have one song completed that I'll put out soon, whenever I feel like it. And then that's the great thing about being in a solo project is that I'll do whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah.
And then I'm waiting on, and I think in the beginning of August, I get a bunch of other songs back. And if you guys like Mistakes,
is the next one very similar in
the next song's very similar stylistically, I would say. Well, yeah, kind of
lyrically
lyrically. I mean, lyrically, it hits on a different subject, but I mean, like it's
still a social.
It's called Sheeple Are People.
Ah.
So, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes.
Sheeple Are People.
So,
oh man, that needs to be on a shirt.
Thank you.
If it's not already, if you're gonna,
if I had fans, I'd make a shirt. But I mean, like, I don't know if I have.
Well, if you ever do, that's my vote. That has my vote. And I would wear,
So that's my next one. I'll put that out, and then I got what, 4 more after that I got. I'm just waiting to get finished. I really think people are gonna like him. I'm very proud and happy with the success of Mistakes. The thing about it is, it doesn't feel different.
No,
I have so many. No, because
than any other.
No, it's because like my plays are worldwide, so
Right.
I don't like. I have a ton of plays in Australia, a ton of plays in Italy, a ton of plays in England, a ton of plays in Spain, Indonesia. Like it's just we're in a global market now, and so it doesn't affect my life. It just plays. Somebody's listening, and that's all that matters. Somebody's listening. I don't care who it is. It doesn't. I'm not even putting a band together. I don't care. I work really hard at promoting it. Like I like all those like free playlist like things. I'm on them every day trying to submit to different playlists and try to get on there, and it helps. And with Mistakes, I think somebody somewhere, without tagging me, posted the song.
Or put it on a playlist and that you didn't know about.
Yeah, that I don't know about. Like,
yeah.
Because like a private playlist that they only share with their friends.
Sure.
But they might be a soccer star in Spain that has a bunch of people that follow. So it's not easy to figure out who's listening to you. All I know is I have a ton of plays, a ton. Yeah. That's like what Taylor Swift has in a second. But like, like, I mean, like, but like for
in a
me,
millisecond.
Well, for me, like, the idea that somebody's listened to my song 30,000 times is like mind blowing. You know what I mean? Like
it's huge.
Like, and then I go to my LBC Spotify page and go,
it's in the millions.
Oh yeah. Like you know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh okay, well, but still, I mean, everything's relative, and I didn't have a label behind this. I don't even have a band. It's just like, when you're in a band, there's that many people promoting it too. Like it's just me. So
LBC comes from that old machine.
Yeah, well, stand outside high schools, hand out flyers and tapes and whatever. If I stood outside of high school right now, I'd get arrested. All right,
like who is this guy?
I almost got arrested a couple times when I was 19. You know what I mean? Like it's like imagine like a 25-year-old. I mean, sorry. Yeah.
I mean, you could pass for.
Yeah, shut up.
You could pass for. Yeah.
That's a joke. I was on a Zoom call. Well, my mom was on a Zoom call, and she asked me to come. I was visiting her, and she was talking to her brothers and sisters, and my uncles and aunts, and my grandma. And she's like, "Hey, come here. They want to say hi." I'm like, "All right, cool." I sat down, and they go, "You just don't look any different. And I'm like, cool. I mean, I got some grays in my beard. You know, like I said that. I'm like, look.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, but not in your head. Do you die? I'm like, I wouldn't know how. So, you know, people ask me that all the time. Like, do you dye your hair? I'm like, no.
I don't see you being that.
I'm so lazy and so I would graciously be cool with the gray, man. I don't care. Like, I just.
It'll happen
video,
eventually.
Though, I'm going to grow a massive beard.
Well, you had a decent sized beard at one point. Beard. I remember, I think the first time, well, it wasn't the first time. It was maybe the second time I met you in person. I didn't know you were Stubhy because of your beard. Because the first time I met you, it was clean shaven Stubhy. And then the second time was, you know, I forget, a handful of years or something later. And you had a beard on and everything. And
I mean, and then for everybody that's listening, when I have a beard, it's not a beard, it's a beard.
It is a beard. And I had no idea it was you. I think I was interviewing Kevin Singleton at Bottom Lounge. And you came in a couple times during our recording. And after like one of the times you left, I'm like, who is that? They're like, it's like, that's Stubhy. I'm like, that's Stubhy? Like, I just had no idea.
Hey, just like I changed my music, I changed my life.
You changed it.
I don't know, man. What's the point of staying the same all the time, right?
Well, I feel like your look does fit with this.
I think a big beard though for this new song. After I'll play it for you, and then you
maybe grow out the hair a little more too.
Oh man, my wife
she'll flip.
She so wants me to cut my hair, and I'm like, it takes so long to grow it. There's no way. At my age to have this hair, fuck you. I am not cutting this hair. I'm gonna let this hair go. We're almost done too, man. Yeah, cool. But yeah, I mean, let's. If I'm like, everybody, please check out Mr. Miz. I think you'll like it. There's music coming when I fucking feel like putting it out, and I get my art and whatnot. But like, check out Mr. Miz. Check out LBC, and come to Riot Fest.
A lot of things to celebrate.
Yeah, man. It's all good. I've talked a lot. Unless you got something else,
we could go on forever.
We could.
But yeah,
I mean, that's the thing. It's like that's what I'm saying. Like, if I don't cut this off right now, we're gonna be here until like midnight.
Well, we also want to shout out not only Stubhy once again for being on the podcast, but Village Inn Pizzeria in Skokie. Please hit up this place if you get the chance.
Really cool.
It's cool.
Being honest.
Very nice and courteous staff. The pizza's great.
It is.
Happy hour's been great.
I'm going to go home and smoke some weed and eat the rest of that fucking shit. I'm serious.
I might honestly eat the rest of it or some of it on my... I might just have on my right back. Nice. I'm not going to lie. I probably will.
Cool.
So Mr. Miz and Infusions, Lucky Boys Confusion. Yeah, I think that's...
Confusion? Oh shit! I didn't even. That's the first time. That's the first time. Oh my god! Ah shit! That's weird.
Infusion Confusion. Oh, that'll be the next.
Ooh, that could be the next EP.
Or
I don't know if I'm gonna do.
Lucky Boys will be featured on a Infusions song, and it could be Infusions Confusion.
I could.
Something like that. Anyway,
peace.
That new Mr. Miz and the Infusions song that Stubhy was talking about is actually out now on all streaming platforms, and you'll find it under Sheeple. Enjoy the show.
Did you hear about Kennedy? It's the truth, not conspiracy, he said. Do you really want to be the last to know? We never landed on the moon. Did you hear about the boy and the balloon? I sit back and just enjoy the show. But let me live in the dark. Ooh, and don't you turn the lights on. I know you think I'm a mark. Ooh, and don't you turn the lights on. Let me live in the dark. Ooh, and don't you turn the lights on. I'm not falling apart. Ooh, and don't you turn the lights on. They're trying to kill us with vaccines and sending blood from my babies to the queen. Now sit back and just enjoy the show. But let me live in the dark. Ooh, and don't you turn the lights on. I know you think I'm a mark. Ooh, and don't you turn the lights on. Let me live in the dark. Ooh, and don't you turn the lights on. I'm not falling apart. Ooh, and don't you turn the lights on.
The latest song from Mr. Miz and the Infusions, Sheeple. Enjoy the show. Special thank you again to Stubhy Pandav for being on the podcast, and the Village Inn Pizzeria in Skokie for being so kind to let us record in their back room. I'm Jacques LaMore. Thank you so much for listening to Pop Punk and Pizza. Do me a huge favor. Drop us a positive rating and review on Apple Podcasts. You can also follow us on social media at Pop Punk Pizza Pod. If you want to support the show even further, consider becoming a patron or buy some merch at poppunkpizzapod.com. And don't worry, we'll have some pizza again very soon. I'm looking forward to it.
Hey, hello, it's nice to